with this panel, which is a conversation. Actually, it's a masterclass more than anything else. Let's just shut those doors and ask anyone last minute who wants to come in. We're about to shut the doors. So ladies and gentlemen, this woman, this actor, this personality who's been in the Indian film industry for the last 28 years really needs no introduction. In fact, she's going to share a lot of tidbits about her career and her journey with us in this conversation. So please give a warm round of applause for Miss Divya Dutta. Check, yep. Okay, first of all, welcome to Goa. Welcome to IFFI. Welcome to Film Bazaar. You've been here many times before, actually. You're a personality we've seen at IFFI and Film Bazaar before, right?
First of all, a very good evening, everyone. I guess everyone's out for chai and to take some pictures with Pankaj. But it's lovely to have you all here. And thank you, Jitin, for this conversation that we are having today. Yes, I've been quite an integral part of IFFI, and I have always stepped into the bazaar because I really love the buzz here and the way people just meet each other and have their interactions. It just energizes you beautifully. So, and I don't know, Goa's just been better for me with IFFI around it.
Absolutely. You know, I have to brag a little bit. 150 films under your belt. Guys, 150 films under her belt. Over 28 years in the industry, has worked across all mediums, Doordarshan, television, cinemas, OTT, theater, modeling, all of it. You've done all of it. Can you tell me, kind of take me back, Divya, and tell me when this all began for you? When did you realize that you wanted to be in front of the camera? And what was that pivotal moment? Do you remember that?
Jitin, I think I come from a family of doctors, and I hail from Punjab. And it was always a very academically inclined place for everyone. All children were supposed to be doing something that was academically inclined. And I was all of 4, and I remember I used to tear my mother's dupattas and saris and dance on Amitabh Bachchan songs. And I would invite my neighborhood bachas, friends, and tell them, I'm going to bribe you with a samosa or a gulab jamun. Just come and watch me perform. And I would we had those little, what do you call, little courtyards in Delhi. And I would perform there on Mr. Bachchan songs. I loved that applause.
How old were you? Do you remember how old you were?
I was about 4 or 5. And it was lovely to not tear my mother's dupattas, but it was lovely to just be mesmerized with that man on the big screen. And I just didn't know how, but I wanted to be on that screen where he was.
Do you remember which movies of his influenced you in that time period? Does any of that come back?
I remember the songs. It was Khai Ke Paan Banaras Wala. So
of course. One of the most iconic.
Yes, and then I remember it was Mr. Natwar Lal. And I remember having told my father that I want to be on the big screen, and I was really reprimanded for that. And but I don't know, my heart knew that I was going to be somewhere there in the movies.
And the irony is you worked with Mr. Amitabh Bachchan on a film called Bagban, much later, where you weren't very nice to him, actually.
Thank you very much.
What was that experience like, working with Mr. Bachchan, and what did you take away from it? Did he teach you anything valuable?
So I think the most beautiful thing is that, you know, people just don't come directly and teach you something or tell you, hey, this is the lesson for life. Something that you take away from them, from what is happening in that moment. So the thing is to just be alive, be alert, and absorb that moment you're in. And the person who was the reason for me to be in the movies, I was with him in Bagban, unfortunately playing a very nasty, mean role. And but I would do it with all my enthusiasm, and every morning was a good morning, sir. And one fine day I realized, Jitin, that I was affected by something. I didn't know what. And one day I just went back home and cried, and my mother said, "What happened?" I said, "I don't know." She said, "Did you perform well?" I said, "I think I did." And I couldn't just gather what it was. The next day I went on the set, and my good morning had nothing good about it. So it was like a very, very dull good morning, sir. And I think Mr. Bachchan, being the sensitive man and the observant person that he is, he could gauge what had happened, and he called me, "Come here." So I just went to him. He said, "Do you know you're being very mean to me?" I said, "Sir, but I'm just doing a role and I'm just mouthing my lines." And there was a pause. So in very unassuming ways, without even uttering a word, he had told me, "This is a role. These are your lines. There's nothing personal about you being nasty to me. So just do it the way you're doing it." And there was a very unsaid bond there. And from that day, I was back to being all smiles. And that day, I learned how, as an actor, I have to disconnect from the character I do. So I guess that's what I picked up from him. Also, I think what was amazing about him, and which is very important for actors, is that the more success we get, we tend to get unapproachable. Talk to my manager, talk to this, which can be, of course, a hindrance. You can't be talking to everyone. But I'm saying when you are meeting somebody, Mr. Bachchan has that thing of being very, very personalized with what he says. So it feels good. It feels, if I to date remember how he was to me as a newcomer, and I'm sure there are so many newcomers who will remember how any of us actors or any of whoever has done, whoever is senior, is to them when they're new. So these little things, I think, were gems that I really picked up from him, and I guess that for me will always be special.
You know, and it doesn't just apply only to actors. I mean, think about it. If you're a producer, if you're a writer, anywhere in this fraternity, it helps to be kind. Do you feel like the fraternity has gotten kinder over the years?
Well, I would say, I wouldn't say over the years. It's always very personal. You can't generalize something like this. Like when I was a newcomer, I had gone to about 30 different offices, and everyone would say, "Hey, you're doing a film for us." And I would just come back very happy. And one fine day, I just told my mother, "Mama, I'm doing 22 films," because no one says no, because you do not know when you will be required or needed by them. So they will be very kind to you. They will say, "Yes, yes, of course, we'll work together." And I was so naive, I would say, "Oh, okay, I'm doing the film." And I would come back and be very excited, 22 films, I'm going to be very busy. And I would realize that none of them started, or even if they did, they were with different heroines. So I was taken aback. It was a lesson learned. I had like fallen a few times to just find my foothold. And then I met Mr. Sham Benegal, Jitin. And Mr. Sham Benegal, there was a screening of Train to Pakistan. And I went very nervously to him and I said, "Sir, I wanted to meet you. I want to do your next film." The next line he says is, "Surely, young lady, why don't you come to the office tomorrow?" It was that simple. So I was like, "ऐसे भी होता है क्या? कि I have to take a meeting with the manager, and then I have to go, and then they'll, just give me a vague yes, and then that never happens. And here's the man who calls me and says, "Okay, my casting is done, but there's one song. Will you do it?" So I said, "Sir, I will. I want to work with you." And I was on his set. It was as simple as that. So there are people who are so secure about themselves and their brilliance and their genius that they don't have to prove it with other outside things, I guess.
And you know, one of the iconic roles that I think we know you for is your role as Shabbo in Veer Zara, the Yash Chopra film. And what that did for your career, because it was such a massy film and so many people saw you in that role. Talk about the good things and the bad things that came out of that role for you.
Well, I came in the 90s, the late 90s, and that period was when everyone said, "TV mat karna, nahi to film nahi kar sakte." Or, so there was that thing of just having an image, of being a TV actor, of being a film actor. And
so you couldn't do both. You couldn't be a TV actor and be a film actor.
I did both.
You did. You did both.
I guess I've always followed my heart and have followed it with all my passion and all zest and with a rebellion, I would say. I've always, my fight has never been about work. Touchwood, work comes when you really you know, people do see you eventually. Lekin, I don't like to be bound in an image. Like, please don't call me like, you know, somebody's so-and-so, or don't call me a supporting, or don't call me a comedian, don't call me a villain. I'm an actor. Especially for women, I think. Men can still get away with it. They can do diverse roles, and they'll be called an actor. But females ke saath, especially a few years back, that wasn't the case. It was like, how to categorize her since she's not really romancing the hero, but she's doing a very good role. So where is she? Like, really, she's not the bhabhi. She's not the heroine. Who is she? So it was interesting to kind of break those myths and just make my own little place. So, so yeah, TV I did, but honestly, I could not continue doing the same role for a few years. Then I did a very beautiful show called Kadam, where I was fortunate that at that time I got something as diverse as that, where I played a different character in a very strong, different story every time. And one fine day I get a call from Yash Chopra's office, that please come and meet. And I was excited because I think like every newcomer, it was my dream to be in a Yash Chopra film and dance in those chiffon saris and be in the snow-clad mountains. And I thought, वो सब सच हो रहा है, थोड़ा late हो गया, but हो रहा है. So, cut to, I'm in their office. There's Aditya Chopra sitting, there's Yash uncle sitting. They're all, both of them there. And they narrate me the story of Veer Zara. And I'm excited. I'm like, okay, now I have reached and I have landed myself a beautiful role.
As Zara.
Yeah.
You were thinking in that moment.
As I thought. And then he said, so we want you to play Shabbo. I said, who's Shabbo? So he thinks, so there is Shah Rukh, there is Preeti, there is Rani, there's Mr. Bachchan, there's Hemaji. So I said, excuse me, me? Saying, so you will be Zara's friend. So I thought that was blasphemous during those times, especially, to play a friend in a Yash Chopra film. Because if I play a friend in the topmost film, I would be flooded with only those, and I would have an image I would never be able to break. And I think Aditya, being very observant, he said, just want to say something. I said, what? He says, if anyone could have done this role, we wouldn't have called you. And trust me, you'll always be remembered for this one. There was something very sincere about what he said. And when I came home, I was very confused whether I should do Veer Zara or not do Veer Zara, because it would cut off all my so-called opportunities that I was waiting for, कि मैं heroine बनूंगी. And it was a total new world for me. So I came home and I spoke to my mother. She said, listen, I'm not a producer, I'm a doctor. I said, Hama. She's saying, so does the world know that you're a good actor? I said, still not. So she's saying, then how will they know? I said, I'll wait, no, somebody will take me opposite so-and-so. So she said, if that doesn't happen, will you keep waiting? And that really hit me hard. It was like, no. So she said, then do what is offered to you and do it so well that people write roles for you. And so that's when I took on Veer Zara. I was a part of that huge ensemble. I worked hard. I spoke to the people in Lahore. Aditya made me speak to those people. He said, that is the employer and that's the employee. So, dono ka difference dekh lo kya hai lehje mein, kya fark hai, how they speak. Now, pick up this one and use it in your language. And that's how I picked up that accent, that dialect. And I really worked hard. It was a sync sound. The first day, I had Yash Chopra standing there, I had Shah Rukh there, I had Preeti there, the who's who was there. And the first scene was mine in a sync sound with a language which wasn't mine. But, so I did it. बहुत मेहनत की, बहुत शिद्दत से किया. लेकिन वो एक doubt था मुझे कि now I will be the friend for life. When the premiere happened, in the interval, I came out, enjoyed the film, and was so proud to be a part of it, but that doubt lingered. And when I came out, for the first time in my life, Jitin, I was surrounded by people. Everyone was asking Yash uncle, who is that girl? Have you brought her from Pakistan? Is she from Punjab? Who is she? I had been in the industry 6 years before that. Nobody knew of me. But that film, in very unassuming ways, was for me like a relaunch of sorts. with Yash Chopra. So I think when you really tell the universe that you really want something, it will do things for you, it will conspire, but in its own ways. So yeah.
Very, very inspiring. So Divya, what did you do to break out of this kind of niche, that this typecasting almost, that you were going to be the best friend and you had kind of captured that role so well? How did you make sure to not get caught in that trap, to not play that character over and over and over again?
I just feel there are two kinds of makers, one who set examples and one who follow those examples. I chose to work with those who set examples, who see me not for what I have already done, but how they can imagine me in different things. So after Veer Zara, I have sat home as a choice for a year and a half.
So you didn't work for a year and a half?
No, and I was flooded with offers because everyone wanted a Shabbo in their film. They wanted that vivacious, that Punjabi girl and everything. I was fed up. And everyone around me thought I've gone crazy because I was saying no to big money, to huge offers, huge banners, huge directors. And I don't know what I was waiting for, but frankly, I was following my heart. I didn't want to just look in the mirror and say, "Phir se wahi dikh rahi hai, phir se wahi kar rahi hai, wahi lines hai." I didn't want to do that. And one fine day, Rakesh Mehra called me and he said, "Listen, I'm making Delhi 6 and I want you to come to the office." I said, "But are you offering me a Punjabi role?" He says, "No." So I said, "Is it going to be vivacious and chirpy?" He says, "No." So then I said, "Why are you calling me?" I was so like cynical by then. So he's like, "Because I think you can do it." And that was Jalebi for me, a totally uninhibited woman with a body language that I didn't know of. I had just come from Punjab, and everything for me was Hanji, Namaste ji, and everything. And here I was given those expletives to talk about, I mean, to just throw around like that and have a body language which I had never heard of. And so I had learnt the dialect. It was a Haryanvi dialect. Everyone on the set, so this is how a team for an actor works, is like every actor, especially all the male actors, came up to me and they'd say, "Dilli ki gali bataएं क्या तुझे? इधर आजा gali bataएं." So everyone made me feel at home. I was like the child there कि इसको protect करना है. तो गालियाँ तो सीख ली हैं, पर बोलनी तो मैंने है. I didn't know how to because there was, and I called Rakesh Mehra. I said, "Sir, there's something I'm missing." He's like, "Nahi, acha ho raha hai." I said, "No, sir, I can feel it. There's something I'm missing." And there was Wahida ji sitting there. There was a crowd of 1,000 people. I had a monologue, and I had to mouth all those expletives. And so I had to be beaten up by Vijay Raj. So that was the scene we were doing. So Wahida ji, Rishi Kapoor, Om Puri, Abhishek Bachchan, everyone watching. I don't know why they were there, but they were there, and I was honored. But I was like, I can't get it wrong here. And that's where your nervous energy works, Jitin. And Rakesh Mehra just came to me. He realized I was really nervous. He came and said, "आपको बस इतना करना है, दिव्या को बाहर कर देना है और जलेबी को अंदर आने देना है." I was like, wait a minute, what did he say? That day, as an actor, I learned a lesson for life, that do not get personal with your characters. Leave yourself out, let the character come in, and feel that character. I mean, I think acting, when you say acting, I feel it's feeling, it's reactions to how you'll ask me questions, I'll answer it that way. So it's as simple or as beautiful or as complicated as that, but it is that. And that moment, something different happened for me. I was giving galis like I have been doing it since childhood. I had opened the top two buttons. I said, "Does this work better for you?" And he says, "Your wish." So I had suddenly taken charge. And I said, "Ye kaun hai? Ye to main nahi thi." But then I realized for that moment, for a few minutes, for those few days that I shot for that film, I was Jalebi. And that's what I learned on that set.
आप 1 मिनट के लिए या आधे मिनट के लिए आप दिव्या को बाहर जाने देंगे और जलेबी को अंदर आने देंगे? Can you remember any of those lines? Because I'm dying to hear you in that character.
Oh, no. I wouldn't really remember any of those. But yeah, I can remember Veer Zara for sure.
Okay, can we have a little bit of Shabbo then?
Men pata nahi si ki tusi aso. But tusano vek ke men paka yakin hai ki tusi Zara no le jaso. अच्छा मैं जुली हाँ.
So Rakesh Mehra really did kind of give you that opportunity. Who are some of the other men, especially actors that you have worked with, that have had a humongous influence on your life and you've taken away, that memory of working with them? I know Irfan is definitely one of those people.
I would name three people, Irfan, Shahrukh, and Farhan. Three people. Irfan, I learned the art of improvisation from him. Not from him, with him, I would say. And we were doing a film called Dubai Returned, which never released, but that was my first film with him. And I think the entire industry it's a cult film within the industry. It never released, but everyone's seen it. So that was my first. I was, again, a total newcomer, and I was supposed to speak in Marathi. And that time I was learning Marathi. So the dialogues that were given to me, I had only done those. And so I was sticking to just that. And Irfan is supposed to come to my house, and I'm supposed to give him the glass, and he's supposed to return it to me. That was the scene. He doesn't rehearse, neither do I really enjoy too much rehearsal. It's like, let's see the magic of the take. And in the shot, I saw a very naughty glint in his eyes. I was like, he's really up to something. So he held the glass, and he dropped it. And that shock on my face was like, ye to scene hi khatam ho gaya. He has dropped the glass. He's supposed to return it to me. So now, like, I'm a newcomer. I didn't know what to do. So I had two choices. Either I play with it, or I say cut. Or I say I'm not prepared for it. So I thought I'll play with it. So I'll just go with it. And then जितनी मुझे आती थी मराठी नर्वसनेस में मैंने सारी मराठी वो बोल दी और जितनी और गालियाँ आती थी वो भी बोल दी कि ये क्या किया वो क्या किया. The thing is the mixture of wanting to do something really nicely and the pressure of wanting to perform, this is a very lethal combo for an actor. And when that little tad bit of nervousness you have, I think it pushes your head to perform better, rather than you be very complacent about it, कि हाँ मुझे सब आता है. Always keep that little space कि मुझे नहीं आता है. And be a newcomer. So when he did that, and I did that, वो कुछ और ही scene निकल कर आया. And when it was done, there was a cheer on the set, and he says, "You're smart." And that's when I started enjoying those improvisations. And I'm fortunate that I have worked in 4 films with Irfan. And in each film, I think what I really looked forward to was looking into his eyes and just improvising. So that was Irfan for me. Shahrukh, I remember during Veer Zara, I was doing something, a shot. It was 3 actors. And it was his first day. And by chance, I was like, I'm petite, so I was being hidden by the camera. I thought the cameraman was going to anyways point it out. But I was sulking कि बहुत देर तक कुछ बोला ही नहीं है. Just before the shot, Shahrukh comes and says, "Excuse me, Divya, will you please take space? I don't think you can be seen by the camera." I was so thankful. I was so grateful that something that no one had said he had seen and said it.
It was a group scene?
It was like, yeah, it was a group scene, and I was hidden. And when you're a newcomer, you don't have the confidence to say, कि सुनिए आप मुझे ना ज़रा cover कर रहे हैं. I couldn't say that. And so he just called that person out, and he said, "Bahar, come out. You're not seen by the camera." And when it was done, he just said, "I'm not going to be on all your sets. You better look after yourself." But the thing is, these are little things that you learn and you always remember from your co-stars, that, you have to watch for yourself and also for your co-stars. That competitive thing that we say is nice in a healthy way, but what's more important is the bigger picture, is who is more important in that scene, and so let them be. So be secure about it. And that's why it's very important to work with directors who know how to balance it out. Yes.
And you also mentioned Farhan.
Yes, Farhan, for the sheer fact that...
Actually, Bhag Milka Bhag was one with Farhan, right? And that scene with the blazer, I remember, very, very iconic scene. You played his sister.
That's right.
And there's a scene that where he comes and he returns the blazer to you, or he asks you to wear the blazer.
Yes.
Is that?
That's right. that again was something that was, I think on Rakesh Mehra's set, I've really learned a few things which just happened. This scene, we had it, of course, written by Prasoon Joshi. And so Rakesh Mehra just said, listen, you have the scene, but give it your own beginning and give it your own end. And I was wearing, so I have a friend there who's doing costumes. Hey, hi. Veera, that's Veera.
Hi, Veera.
So I was wearing jeans and I was wearing a shirt and I sat down to wash utensils. That's the scene. And then the brother comes in and he says, so he mouths his lines and I'm supposed to just, then the scene goes on. So something was not coming right. And Mr. Mehra said, why don't you just go and get into your costume? I said, sir, I'm fine, I'm very comfortable. He says, no, get into your costume. So I just went, I wore my salwar kameez, I put the dupatta on my head like how they do in the villages. My body language changed. I was very comfortable. I was washing utensils like I washed them for years. Everything just changed. And then we were just wondering what we were going to do for the beginning. And Farhan said, I'm going to wear the sunglasses. And I said, okay, I won't recognize you. So that was the beginning we got. We went through the scene, and I was hugging Farhan, and I'm thinking in my head, is this how cliche this end of the scene is going to be? Since Mr. Mehra has left it on us, I don't want it that cliche. And suddenly I realized that me as Isri Kaur, the character that I play, had a subconscious memory. And I said, listen, but your father had saluted the young Milkha when you shot two months back. So I just left the embrace and I saluted him. And everyone was shell-shocked, including me, कि ये कहाँ से आया? But I think when you as an actor get that atmosphere on the sets, which is always so encouraging and inspiring, and everyone is doing just about anything to make you perform the way you should be performing, things come out. And I realized characters that you play have a subconscious too. And I mean, I wouldn't remember that I had shot for that. But how is it that it just came to me at that point in time? And I just left that embrace and I saluted. And we all cried in a group hug that this scene was magic. And I think truly so, because आप जब कुछ दिल से करते हो, वो दिलों तक पहुंचता ही है. There's no two way about it.
So you've mentioned the men in the industry who had an influence on your life. What about the women in the industry? Are there any women that you have worked with who have been particularly inspirational, particularly kind? Or is what I hear somewhat true that women are probably their own worst enemies in the industry?
That is such a myth, actually.
Is it?
I mean, from even older times, you would see, it's interesting, it's voyeuristic to just know कि हाँ दो लोगों की नहीं बनी तो नहीं बनी, ऐसा आदमियों में भी होता है. Why just point out just women? I mean, there can be individuals who just don't get along, that's all right. But there are also people who get along, but that doesn't make a story. Like if you have Wahida ji and Helen Auntie and you have Asha Parekh ji, they're best friends. And they've been in the same movies, they've been rivals and yet best friends. We have a group of actresses, I think Aditi was just here, and all of us are a group, we've made a group where we share, where we meet once a while, we discuss our little problems, and I think it's so beautiful that when you can share something with a woman, there's nothing more liberating than this, that you can talk out all your problems and you'll be surprised kitne